Thank you guys all for coming. Thanks. Wonderful to see everybody. Beautiful spring evening. Anyway, welcome to Science on Tap. Thank you for coming. My name is Susan Knight. I work at the University of Wisconsin Trout Lake Station. And just to let you know that that Science on Tap is an example of the Wisconsin idea, the idea that the borders of the state are the borders of the university. So thank you very much for coming and enjoying the speaker tonight. This is an opportunity for all of you to learn something new and to ask questions of a respected speaker and expert in the area. So we're really looking forward to it tonight. Our sponsors for this are UW Trout Lake Station, Kemp Natural Resources Station, Minocqua Public Library, the Lakeland Badger chapter of the Wisconsin Alumni Association, and of course our own Minocqua Brewing Company. And tonight, breaking news. The Minocqua Brewing Company has been sold. And we first would like, do we have the, well, we have Ryan is here. So Ryan is part of the White family who has owned the Minocqua Brewing Company and has been a huge supporter of Science on Tap for all these years, these 3 years that we've been going. And so we want to thank Ryan and his dad, Dan. Thank you very much. We are hugely grateful to you guys for starting this, helping us start this program. And I would also like to welcome Kirk Bangstad. Is he here? I guess he's not. If he comes in later, then we will be sure to thank him. But Kirk Bangstad and his wife Elizabeth are the new owners as of last week. And they are enthusiastic supporters of Science on Tap as well. And so we will continue as we have been. And I know that they'll have lots of new things to do here as well. So thank you to the Whites. Oh, here he is. He just arrived just in time. Please, a big welcome to the new owner of the Minocqua Brewing Company, Kirk Bangstad. Thank you very much. Remember, there are 4 ways to watch. You can watch it right here, as you all are. You can watch over at the Minocqua Public Library, and we have now are streaming live at the Presque Isle Library. I know they have a big meeting up there tonight, so maybe not too many up there today. But you can also live stream from home, from your own computer, if you have fast enough internet. And we also archive all of our entire presentations so that you can watch them. It takes us a couple of weeks to get them up. And now we are also starting with the last few, making a short presentation, like about 8 to 10 minutes or something like that, of the presentation. It's about half the speaker and half questions. And so, anyway, many, many ways to enjoy Science on Tap Minocqua. Okay, let's see. What else do we need to do? Okay, so our next event is on June 1st. That's the first Wednesday of June, so don't let it sneak up on you. It is the Science of Communicating Science. I think we had a different title, but I've kind of forgotten what it was. Anybody remember? Science and Politics, The Great Divide. Thank you very much, Carol. It could be interesting. It will be interesting. The speaker is Dietram Schufli. He's a UW-Madison Life Science Communication professor. So thank you very much. So tonight we have How to Be Happy and Healthy with Dr. Robert McGrath. And Bob McGrath grew up in Oak Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, well known to many. Following a family tradition, he attended Notre Dame, where he majored in psychology. No big surprise. He went on to the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, to pursue a doctor of psychology in clinical psychology. He started his career at the University of Illinois, teaching and working with college students who were having personal difficulties. He had stints at the University of Tennessee and the University of Missouri before finally coming to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. After a long period as an administrator, he went back to counseling students directly as coordinator of the Mind-Body Wellness Services. That position allowed him to work with students having difficulty having a happy and healthy university experience, and he'll share some of those insights tonight. As an emeritus professor now, he sees a few clients, leads 3 to 4 meditation groups a week, and gives talks all around the country to groups like us here at Science on Tap. Tonight, Bob McGrath focuses on how we can be happy and thriving at any age. He notes that we are all bombarded with information and commercials about what we need, and especially what we need to buy in order to be happy. Happiness may not seem like a very scientific topic, but Bob McGrath will talk about research showing that there are effective and meaningful pathways to living with vitality. His goal tonight is to get your immunoglobulin A, dopamine, and serotonin levels elevated, or at least know what you can do to get them elevated. I think it has something to do with drinking beer, but I'm not quite sure. All right, here's your trivia question. Professor McGrath is a pretty happy guy. Which of the following contributes to his happiness? You have 4 choices. He is one, this is A, he is one of a set of triplets. B, he bicycles more than he drives. C, he was on his college water polo team and continues to compete at the master's level. Or D, he spends every February as a visiting professor at the University College of the Caribbean. What do you think? I'm sorry, only B. He bicycles more than he drives. All right, thank you, Dr. McGrath.
Glad I'm to be here. This is very different from me, and one of the things we'll talk about is making sure you have something new in your life every week or month. You get to debate about that, whether it should be every week, every month. But this is definitely new for me. I have spoken around the country and throughout Wisconsin, but I've never done it with a beer in a setting like this. It's usually at 8:30 in the morning with everyone. They've had their donuts and so on, so they're ready to listen. But so this is hopefully it'll be a fun event. So understand, we'll talk briefly and quickly. So I'm going to be talking quicker and quicker because I usually spend an hour talking, but we're going to reduce it 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then a lot of questions. And so one of the things we usually start out with, this whole thing of what positive psychology and health psychology, what do you do to be happy? Everyone's got their ideas, but actually this guy's, got research, and I don't do the research. I read it. I don't, and I decide, is this legit or is this, and this and that. So I've sort of come up with different pathways. I have been to a workshop that said in any talk there should only be 2 to 3 points, and I've got 10 or 12. So, so you just delete what you don't want to hear. But the other thing, I've taught not a few courses, but I own, in at least one department, I set a record for the number of classes. So I'm used to working with students, and that means I give homework. So there'll be some homework that you all have later. The difference is you don't have to turn it in, but I would encourage you to try some of the different things that we might be talking about. One of which is the first is there's a thing you can go online and just Google values in action, or the Authentic Happiness website. And there's a little test you can take that instead of, the little shift in psychology that happened 10, 12 years ago was instead of focusing on everything that's wrong, depression, anxiety, eating disorders, this and that, it's like, let's focus on what's right. And so instead of taking a test that tells you whether you're anxious or depressed and this and that, the values in action sort of comes up with your personal strengths. And it's interesting, so you can take that. You just Google authentic happiness, and then you can take the values in action, and it will give you your 24 strengths. And part of the positive thing is you don't look at what's the bottom 5. You look at what's the top 5 and use them more, so on. And there are things like creativity, bravery, love, kindness, hope, optimism, gratitude, spirituality, humor, playfulness, so on. So take that and it's like, well, think, what are those things? And of course, someone comes along and says, well, there's 5 of those that are better than some of the others. Gratitude, hope, vitality, love, and curiosity. So whether they're in your top 5, put them on in your group, and act on those. And then the next step is like they say, and act on them in a meaningful way, which means doing for others. That just when you're doing for yourself, it's great, and that could be the pleasant life. And the good life is using those personal strengths, but then using them for others bumps the meaningfulness of your life as well as your own happiness. Oh, so don't do them because you're just doing it for yourself because you want to be happy. No. So go ahead and use those and do for others. That is a core thing. Because you might imagine, and you think about your lives, what jumps out as what's most important? Family and friends, social relationships, familial friends. It's the most important part of our lives is connecting with others. And everyone, you could have questions. Well, how much should I be spending time with others and so on? And, again, someone will write and narrows it down, at least 10 minutes a day. Having a conversation that's a positive conversation instead of, so much of our conversations like, oh, this went wrong, and so on. And one of those guidelines, if you're talking about what's going wrong, how many people are really interested? 90% are interested, the other 10% are going, good, you deserve it. So, so don't spend too much time talking about what was going wrong, and so on. But just connecting with others. And again, there's this little research. Connecting in person versus, we've become the technological society where we're connecting to people around the world, which is great, but don't forget to connect to that person sitting next to you and talking and so on. So, and then one of the clearest benefits of social relationships, any ideas? But helping others, doing for others rather than just doing for yourself. So the idea, more homework, help others with random and not so random acts of kindness. And so just thinking about what do you do and reflect. And we talked about whether we could break into little groups and talk about that, but we'll talk about it now and then later. I'm going to say, so not to be multitasking and have you thinking about something while I'm talking. No, don't do that. But be thinking, well, has someone done a random or not so random act of kindness that you've been a recipient of, so on. But doing kindness toward others, that brain works better. Wait a minute. Is doing an act of kindness going to get your brain going and get those immunoglobulin A things going in your brain? And the answer is yes. So, again, it's mixed up. It gets your serotonin, not that immunoglobulin A. Get your brain compounds going in the right way. But practicing acts of kindness releases serotonin in your brain, a substance with tremendous health benefits, including making us feel happy. And there's a fellow that now is it, a lot of studies on relationships and anything in psychology. They tend to be 2-week studies, 6 weeks, maybe a month, or in a month and a half, couple months. But they've done a 75-year study that started so way, way, way back. And it was an interesting group of some people, and I won't mention what university it was, and then people in the community, and they followed these people now for 75 years. And there's still like 70 or 80 of them that are still alive because you do your math, these are people in their 90s and so on. And, everyone goes through different phases, but they said what's the most important part of their life is relationships. And part 2 was doing for others in those relationships. So do those things. And so I always like to mention that 7, 8 years ago when I was at a conference, I was out in San Diego, and it was like in January. So coming from Madison, where it was like 5 degrees or whatever, all of a sudden San Diego is beautiful. And I was saying, let's go for a walk instead of going to this keynote speaker. It's like who was talking on gratitude. It's like, well, everyone knows about gratitude, right? But I went, and actually I'm still thankful because it's the best talk I've ever been to. name's Bob Emmons, and his thing in his whole career is research on gratitude, being thankful. And so here's one of your other homework things. Because, well, one of the things he did, he got 2 groups, and we'll split into the groups. So you keep a gratitude journal. At the end of the day or whenever during the day, you write down a few things that you feel thankful for. Sorry, your group is the hassles journal. The things that are a little bit annoying and whatever, even big annoyances, boom. And after, he did it for 6 weeks, and right away after 1 week, which group was happier? Nope, actually the annoyance, the hassles journal, they were happier, but it was only after that first week. Then they got tired of it. And so this group keeps going up, and it's striking how many things are positive about keeping that gratitude journal. Their immune system improves, their relationships improve, they sleep better, they're happier. It's like the list is too long for me to repeat everything, but it's huge. And so they start exercising more, they feel better physically, they're less lonely, reduces stress and depression, increase in high energy, positive moods. So all you got to do, and so the whole group do it. I encourage this strongly. Here's more homework. Just start keeping a little gratitude journal. Just at the end of the day, reflect. What is there to be thankful about? And the answer, there's always plenty. I mean, you're still breathing. You had a nice beer. I have to say, this is the first talk I've ever had where instead of water, there was beer. So pardon me. Again, whatever it might be, it could be, some call it a 3 blessings journal, and they're a little more serious about those things. But whatever comes to your mind, and just jot it out. There's something about writing it out that just makes you feel better and sleep better. Boom. So the other thing he really encourages, and this is the bigger, more difficult homework assignment, he says, think of someone that you really appreciate in your life. And, we're so used to writing, does anyone will admit they've written thank you notes? It's like, thank you, boom. Write a true thank you note of like a letter of appreciation for someone in your life that has done wonderful things, and you don't just send it to them. You go, can we get together? Boom. And he says, go to the trouble of laminating it and then going there and reading it to that person. Boom. And it's just a very, very, not a little bit of moving, but a very moving experience. Boom. And so, again, I encourage that. And he says, do it. Your happiness is boosted for 6 months. So the bad deal is you got to do it again after 6 months. So do it. I really encourage you to do that. Taking care of your body. We all have our ideas, and you hear so much about you got to do this, this, and this. And yes, you do need what's an important thing? Hydrating with this, not that. But this is okay in the right, but I won't ask what the right, yes. You think about that. What's the right dose of this? And what else comes to mind is, we got to take care of our body because it's really, the body and mind, they go together. So sleep. It's like, of course, everyone needs their sleep. And someone pointed out we're supposed to, 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. And a lot of people don't do that. But when you get to be 90, that means 30 years of your life has been spent sleeping. And that's an important part of your life. So, yes, get that good sleep. And a lot of people have trouble, with getting to their sleep. Increasing physical activity. Eating well. And what is eating well? And everyone's got their different opinions. There's so many diets that, again, you all get the more than number of stuff on the internet that's telling you exactly how to eat. And it's like, the bottom line is, eat things with a lot of colors. Eat things that grow. And eat slowly. Do we all chow down, chow down, chow down? It's like, no. Eat nice and slowly. Which gets into the next thing, which is quieting yourself. At what point, in most days, we're all in a hurry. Hurry, hurry, do this, do that. How to slow down. And whether you slow down, sit there in a productive manner. And whether through some form of meditation, just quieting yourself. And whether some people do it, various forms of breathing. We can talk about some of those forms later and have you experiment different things. But meditation, and there's a major figure at UW, Richard Davison, who's done brain scans of everyone from little kids to the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh. It's like, oh, this is not bad. And I don't want to scare you, but your left prefrontal cortex grows. It's like, uh-oh, your brain is growing. It's like, but it's a good growth. It's like any other muscle. You're using it in the good way, and it's going to grow in good, positive ways. Meditators have 50% fewer medical visits than non-meditators. So meditation leads to happiness, joy, better health, longer lives. But if you just can't, certain one of these things you're going to go, I'm just not going to do that. Someone's sitting right over here that I promote. Oh, my wife is here. Of all people, she will not meditate. I say, come on, just sit for 5 minutes. And that's all you have to do. One of the little guidelines is you do what you can. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15. When the people that are doing 4 hours, that seems a little much. Yes, just call your sleeping meditation. No, yeah. But there's something else you can do. If you just can't sit there, and I'm trying to get you to do some of this now. Have a good laugh. Oh, ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. Come on. Let's. Anyone going to have some laugh? Ho, ho. And look at each other for a minute. Just turn and look at each other and ho, ho, ho. Come on. Oh, ho, ha, ha. Come on. Ho, 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 ha, ha. You might have heard there's groups now, laughing yoga, and they'll claim that they've got the answer to all things. That's the best exercise. So don't just laugh for a couple minutes at each other. Laugh for 45, 50 minutes. And that's what they do. Their first movement usually is, come on, ho, 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 ha, ha, ha. Come on, so turn and laugh at everyone. Okay. And that strengthens your immune system by increasing your immunoglobulin A. So there's more of that good stuff going on in there. And, it's similar to a good workout almost. Gets those endorphins going. Good. So reduces the anxiety and depression. And laughing, do you feel a little closer when you're laughing with someone? In that 10-minute conversation you're going to have, just if you have some laughs, you're going to feel that much better. And I always point out, like little kiddos, do they laugh? Are they smiling? How many times a day? And just reflect a little bit. Are you laughing 400 to 500 times a day like that 3-year-old down the block? So more homework. You don't have to do it 400 or 500, just 100 times a day or whatever. So, and okay, if you don't want to laugh, what's the next step down from that? Just smiling. And could smiling actually be that positive? And the answer is yes. It improves your mood. It gets that immunoglobulin A going again. So get that going. Releases endorphins, the body's natural painkillers. So since I got to talk quick, I won't have you just smile. But no, go ahead. Just quietly close your eyes maybe and just smile for a second. Feels like what? It feels good to smile. Okay, if you're not going to smile, go ahead. How about singing? Singing, does that fall into the healthy category, or is this one of those delete items? I'm not going to go singing. But singing has numerous positive effects. Where do most people end up singing, though? In the shower. That's the only place. So even if you're not a good singer, can we do a quick song here? And I do... I encourage you afterwards or even before to give me some ideas about this talk, because like the Hassel's Journal, someone I was talking to a retirement group, and so this group of 3 95-year-old ladies came up and they said, you shouldn't call it the Hassel's Journal. It's the Bitchin' Journal. Call it. So if you want, this group gets to keep the Bitchin' Journal. But someone came up about the song because I encouraged, come on, everyone going to sing This Little Light of Mine. I'm going to let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm going to let it shine, this little light of mine. I'm going to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And so someone came up and said, I got another song. You ready? Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day. My, oh my, what a wonderful day. Plenty of sunshine, plenty of day. Zippity-doo-dah, zippy-day. Did everyone's mood go up with singing? So start your day tomorrow, first with a smile, and then break into zippity-doo-dah. And so what are some other things to make sure you're doing tomorrow and so on? And I think my guess is you're all here in a good situation for this. Getting outside. Are you all outdoors people? Our society, unfortunately, has become indoor. In fact, there's even a thing now, everyone's heard of ADD. Do you know NDD? Nature deficit disorders. So the idea, make sure you're outside good 35, 40 minutes every day. Yeah, and again, it's like someone goes along, they don't just say, this is what you got to do. They've done research. Our brains work better. Our relationships are better when you start doing and appreciating the beauty outside.
Do you find that there's many differences between the college students and the seniors and all the different age groups on the happiness scale as far as where they're at versus
Yeah, I
older
think
people?
that's a great question because I think, not just I found it, but the group that was following these people for 70 plus years found, when they're 30 and 40, it's like my job, my identity, and so on is so crucial. But it's later when they allow themselves time to reflect. And certainly as we're talking about family and friends is so important, when you're a certain age, that family is not only very important, but it's also very draining. But still, raising that family, connecting with others. And then, when you have that ability to reflect on it all, and that's the message, to give at whatever age, connecting with others, whether they be 2-year-olds, whether they be 15-year-olds or parents or step-parents or grandparents. Go for it. Connect to others.
You've solved everybody's happiness issue?
Hey.
Over your career, how has the happiness factor changed in the college-age population that you've been working with? Do you think students today are better off or less well off than in the past?
Just by the data of how busy counseling centers, in the old days, when I started, I could see students for a year, sometimes 2 years, on a weekly basis. Now, if a college counseling center, a student comes into a college counseling center, they'll say, we'll get you an appointment in 6 weeks. And then they'll maximum get 10 sessions, and that will be spread out pretty much for the year. So there's a lot more going on, a lot more intensity, and maybe these were kids that wouldn't have gotten college, and now they can get in college, but there's definitely more significant difficulties that college students are experiencing.
I was curious if you've seen any studies about games or game playing,
Oh.
and how they promote social
Yes.
connection or happiness.
No, thank you. Thank you for asking that, because just recently there's something, it's like two things that we need more of, games in our lives. And that's such a subtle thing. It's like, what games do you like? What games finding games that you can connect over, definitely go for it. Yeah. The other thing, having recess. And they say it's like you have it as a kid. It's like taking that 5, 10, 15 minutes of just getting out, and whether you're playing on that recess or just quieting yourself, but having recess and playing games. People enjoy, how many, do you have some games you really enjoy, want to encourage here? Any Bananagram fans? Yeah. There you go. Yay, good.
Thank you. Do you think some people are born naturally happy and some people are not?
Great question. And I don't know that I've got the inside answer on that, except I think potentially all have a capacity for happiness. Yes.
See that when you have children, because like
all his life. I don't care what happened to him. He's happy all the time. It's like, but the other one is more moody, and that seems to have gone throughout their life. So it does seem like some people might be born with a propensity for one.
Yeah, one way or the other. And even there, that moody person can learn to enjoy.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you reflect a little bit on connecting with others and how the generations that are so involved in social media are really connecting with others? Or is it kind of a surreal connecting with others? And does it fulfill that need for socialization?
I have a strong, I have always, I feel like I shouldn't be judgmental about things. But I think the new electronic generation, they're not connecting. One of the things I'm always struck with walking around campus, you see a group of 5 and they're not talking to each other. They're all on their smartphone, or they're doing this or that, and it's like, just relate to each other. So I think it's a real impediment. Having too much electronic connection interferes with talking to the person right next to you. It's, and I don't, let me know if it's different here than it is there, but it's striking to get on an elevator with 5 or 6 people, and they're all on, there's no one that's just walking. They're connected at all times now.
Yes. Can you talk about how we're doing as a society? Are Americans less happy than people living in other countries? And what can we learn from other societies around the world that would help Americans be happier?
Yeah. I think one of the things, and yes, unfortunately, Americans are on the lower end of the happiness scales. And one of the things is, focusing on what's that unfortunate thing that people tend to focus too much on?
Money.
Money. Work, maybe, but I think you can be happy from work and enjoying what you're involved, especially if you're doing, in a sense, your work is engaging, etc. But if your work is for money, and how do they come up with these little studies? But they've determined it's $100,000 that a friendship is happier. You're happier unless somehow there's $100,000. Then you're going to be a little happier that you just got that $100,000. But in general, money does not create that much happiness. Just thinking about the materialism, how much more can you buy and buy and buy, and so on. It's relationships that create the happiness, not the money. And there's been there's actually the Gaelic thing, we're sort of connecting it. I don't know if you got that question about what's an Irish twin? Less than 1 year. So I happen to be an Irish twin. I've got a brother that's 10 and a half months older than I am. But this Irish fellow decided, do you need money? And so he lived for a year without money. Just, I don't want to give you some of his ideas, but how do you feed yourself? It's like, well, a nice restaurant like this, they've got to throw away some of the food afterwards. And so he was living out, and it's been done before. But he really, in fact, after a year, he decided he was going to do it again for another year, at which point his fiance said, goodbye. So a little bit of money, and it's just, it's curious that there's not really some will say $30,000 is what you need. Some will say 17, 50, whatever, figure, but it's like that much more money. And I had a nice opportunity this summer. I hate to admit a certain age, but I was at a 50th reunion of sorts. And a fellow that's there, I'd seen his name on a list of the top 10 billionaires in the country. It's like, whoa. He somehow was the owner of Procter & Gamble. Hey. And so I wanted to ask him, it's like, what's it? And so basically, all you can do with that money is, what are you going to do? Anyone here got $1 billion that they want to do something with? All you can do is, again, in terms of feeling good, is giving it away. And there is a fellow in Australia that was a billionaire who said, I want to die without a penny. So he's given away 90% of it, and then I thought, well, he's still got over $1 billion. But he's working on giving that all away, and he created a foundation toward giving rather than receiving. So, you know, that money thing doesn't keep you that happy. So, all right.
When she was talking about the two kids growing up, one was happy all the time, one wasn't. How much do you think the way the kids eat has influenced that? I mean, if one of the kids is a picky eater and doesn't eat all the things that would make you happy, would that have a big influence on?
Well, thanks for raising that, because not just for kids, because, I mean, since there aren't any kids here, but no, eating healthily makes, and so how much of what those kids might do or we do that really, do eating Oreos make you happy? Is anyone here going to testify? You know, it's an interesting split, and it's okay. Oreos on the small dose. Our nutritionists that I work with, they'll say 85%. If you're eating 85% of good stuff, then you can eat 15% of the other stuff. But Oreo cookies or Fritos, and what else jumps out as maybe those things you don't want to be putting in your body too much? French fries? Yes. Butter? Well, actually, butter
is good.
one touch better than margarine. If margarine didn't have a color added to it, what color would it be?
White.
Gray. So, oh, that's very tasty. Oh, yeah. So, yes. Oh, yeah.
Isn't the most serotonin produced in your gut? So what you do eat really makes a difference in how your mood's going to end up?
If you think, you know, partially it's if you eat the bad things, it's work. Your body's got a new thing to do. And if you're carrying lots of extra weight around, if you're putting junk in your body, it's got to work more, right? And I've heard recently there was an article about people that even when they've lost a lot of weight, their levels stay the same. So that like their body says, I want more, I want more. And then they end up gaining more weight. So what are some of the foods, you know, mentioning some of the ones to stay away from. What are some of the top 10 foods you think? Not just carbs, complex carbohydrates. Sugar goes into that. No, but water, some amazingly high percent of people are dehydrated. And it's not just their body's dehydrated, a particular important part of their body. That brain thing, it gets dehydrated. It's like, what's a guideline for how much water you should be drinking? About 50% of your body weight in terms of ounces. Yeah, not pounds. But, you know, if you weigh 120 pounds, 60 ounces every day. And if you're doing a lot of nice aerobic activity, then bump it up even more. So we do need, and someone mentioned soda. It's like, in terms of what's absolutely one of the worst things to put in your body? Diet soda. Diet soda is just, it increases your appetite. Like what? Because it's that fake sugar that has the same effect as sugar that makes you want to have more. And so then you start having more. But someone over here mentioned someone else besides, what did I hear over here? Cigarettes. No, thank you. Because that certainly, there's no question about, but some just read an article that claimed doing something is just as bad as smoking. Let me have a seat. Oh, no, yeah. Sitting all day, it's as bad as smoking. It's like, oops. And I don't know how they quantify that, but in general, the idea, sitting, and you read different things. Some will say 30 minutes, time to move. Others will give you 50 minutes, but time to move around after 50 minutes. Yay.
How do you recommend helping or dealing with someone such as a family member who's perpetually pessimistic and unhappy?
Good
Yeah. I want to give you a good idea, but I'm being pessimistic about, no. Yeah, that's a challenge. I mean, because how do you broach that and say, I've noticed. And you could say, I just happened to go to this talk that says, if you get a negative bias, and we all, unfortunately, we are born with a negative bias. We tend to pay more attention, just reflect on your lives in your last days. Which do you pay more attention to? What went good or what was sort of annoying? We tend, unfortunately, to have a little negative bias. And so, yes, but to help prompt someone, and even to say that, it's like, I realize we're all born to be negative, but now's the time. And what's the ratio? To try and aim toward a 5-to-1. Again, you can't be 0. If anyone in here have nothing negative in the last 2 months or anything, we got problems in our lives. We all do. And so, but just prompting that person to say, I heard about this thing about trying to get a 5-to-1 positive ratio in our lives. Go for that. Yeah.
Yes, with your formula of sleeping and meditation and food and so on and so forth, is there a place for excess within that, like a small percentage somewhere?
Of excess of like which things?
Well, whatever
yeah.
tickles your fancy, I guess.
Yeah, no, again, I have to try not to be critical, but a person I knew that claimed that they were doing 4 hours of meditation a day. It's like, ooh. And there's actually a Chinese fellow got some international press because he devoted his life to meditation. So he put himself in a jail cell, basically, and they came and fed him a couple times a day, but his life was meditation. It's like, so everyone's got their personal biases. It feels like, again, relationships, there were no relationships there. There's nothing positive in a sense. So the meditation and quieting is a positive when it's helping you calm from all the stress and light of your life and so on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so just think of that 85% thing. It's like, so there's room for that. In that 15%, you can go ahead to the French fries or the Oreos, but you don't want to let them go the other direction to too many. And how do you, it's like, is 3 Oreos the max? Because we know someone that unfortunately ended up dying from obesity, but she would eat not 3, not 6, not 12, but the whole pack in an evening. So come and talk to me later if you happen to be an Oreo fan that eats the whole pack. So 3 or 6 maybe, and then, but then make sure you're moving. You're not doing that 50, 90% of the time sitting in your chair, but getting moving.
Wouldn't you think that we're born neutral or happy? You don't see a baby usually other than when they're spanked or something, crying, or they need something. But otherwise, they have a propensity to be happy or smiling, and young children do also.
Well, that's I'd say, and that we should be
so
modeling.
We teach ourselves to be
We should
unhappy.
be modeling after that. Somehow, yes, things get too serious because, again, the amount of laughing per that 3-year-old is 400 to 500 times a day. And they do cry. Do little kids cry? Oh, I don't know. But they do cry. But yes, we lose it as things go on. We get a little more serious, and we lose that sense of humor.
And you can improve your attitude if you just tell yourself that you're happy. Yes?
Yes, you can. Yes. And just say, and concentrate, and maybe not just telling yourself that, but what do you go on and concentrate on? And to take that next step of looking at, what was right. Again, ending your day in the gratitude journal, thinking, what a wonderful day. I had a nice conversation with a friend. I had, a nice dinner. I had a breakfast. Boom, and enjoy it. And allowing yourself to enjoy those things. Because we're zipping along, one of the things I like to mention, though, is eating slowly. We get, how many of, when you're eating your Oreos, are you eating them quickly? Take that bite of the Oreo and just let it settle in and really enjoy it. And in the same way for any other food, we all sort of get past really attending to the sensations. And that's if you want to be gratitude, again, I push the gratitude thing, is every time you're sitting to eat, just think where this food came from, how it got onto that plate that was right in front of you. Because it didn't, even if it was cooked at your home, somehow it got from the grocery store to your plate. You got to the grocery store because someone was growing it and carrying it. I mean, there's not like a few people. How many people we owe every time we have a nice meal? So to just take a nice, slow process of eating and enjoying that food. And you are going to enjoy it. And you're going to have a better sense of, is this really good food? And everyone has personal taste. You know, there's going to be some people that just don't want to eat kale or something. It just doesn't taste right. But others, it's like you eat it slow enough, you start tasting it all. And you don't eat that much more. It's usually when you're overeating too quickly, it's that when you have more and more and more. Because our body, you know, again, trust our body to let us know when we've had enough food. But you're overriding that capacity when you eat fast, quickly. And how many people, I won't ask, how many people are eating with that TV on or the radio on? A good, 90% seem to have something besides food there. So, and the other extreme, a colleague of mine that comes over and talks on mindfulness and stuff once a year comes from India, and we have this big dinner for him, except where is he? He goes in the other room and he eats alone. So eating is a great social event, and so enjoy that food, but then also enjoy the people you're with. But you can do both, and you can even laugh over dinner. But
I have a question online. Are religious people happier than non-believers?
Anyone want to touch that one out here? And the answer is yes, 90%. The happiness ratio of people that are religious, and no matter what religious orientation they might have. And a group, the atheists will even say, that's a religious quality too. So if they're a devoted atheist or devoted Christian or a devoted Islamic, they are more happy than the person who's just not paying attention to that. So yeah, there seems to be some strong data about that. Oh, okay.
Who's happier, men or women?
Let's see. Men are happier because of all those women that are being so nice to them that then it doesn't go the other way. No. I don't know that if I've got good data on that, but I think it's a touch leaning toward that women tend to be a little happier.
In all the studies that you're referencing, how do they typically measure happiness? I mean, if it was a weight loss study or a medical study, it would be easy to quantify it. But how do they, when they say one group's happier,
yeah,
what are
no,
they
that's
measuring?
a great question. And, they've got various, measures like this values in action they've got other measures on that too. But essentially, in my experience, the bottom line comes down is rate your own happiness on a 1 to 10 scale. And you just rate it yourself. And everyone's got different sense of what that 1 to 10, what it would mean to have an 8 versus a 9. And it's more whether that changes. If you typically think of yourself as a 6 and you start doing some things differently, and you go, oh, I'm more 7 or 8 now. Boom. Then, so.
I'm going to give you just a tiny example of some personal field work before I ask the question. And it's just this. Walking down the street one day, I overheard someone say, well, what else could I do? And I began to think, well, there's probably, from that tone of that, there's probably a million things. Too far? Too close? What's up?
You need it a lot closer.
Oh, I need it a lot closer. I'm sorry. Oh, my. So I'm wondering if you've heard of, and I'm pretty sure you have, of the Center for Nonviolence Communication that Marshall Rosenberg leads, and he makes the point that we too often evaluate rather than just observe. And, I don't know, I feel that just when I read that, I thought, yeah, the evaluative mind is just rapidly spinning, like, what do I think about this?
Yeah.
What do I think about this? Instead of observing and thinking, oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. No, and I agree. It's that 5-to-1 ratio that unfortunately what we need, but we develop over the years a negative bias. So we're more attentive to what went wrong than what was right. And so that's part of this homework is, just catching yourself. And it can be a challenge. It's like asking you right-handed people to start being lefty. Ooh. So, but you can use that left hand more and so on. And just catch yourself. It's like, oh, I'm kind of grumpy today. What's going on? And just catch yourself because it's like, oh, yes, I can see I've been grumpy. What did were there some positive things that I didn't attend to? And again, they could be as minor as it was a beautiful day, and I didn't attend to it.
Do you have an opinion upon what seems to be an epidemic of suicides in our young people these days?
Well, unfortunately, it is that sense of, and unfortunately, that one of the primary people in the whole positive psychology movement, Martin Seligman, where he was before he started concentrating on the positive was on the flip side, learned helplessness, that no matter what you do, it'd give students or, subjects something to do that they just could not do. And boom, at some point, they're helpless and they give up. And so the suicidality is the same sort of notion. It's like totally learned helplessness that in my life, I don't know the right answer. And I give up. And I think there's also, unfortunately, a little bit of hostility with any suicidality. It's like, oh, how can that be? But still, there's a punch toward those who didn't take care of you enough or something. If anyone here has had someone, attempt or commit suicide in their lives, it's a real hurtful, and it's one of those things that hurts. But, yeah.
I'm just wondering if happiness is a teachable concept to others, not to ourselves. We can work on ourselves, but is that a teachable concept to young people, to people in our family?
I think it is. It's learnable, and whether that subtlety of like, you want to say if someone doesn't seem to be being happy, to say you need to do, and it's like, no, you don't want to say you need to do this. It's like even bringing it up sort of abstractly. It's like, you don't seem like you're being that happy. Is there something going on? And now you can say, and I happen to go hear this strange guy talk about developing happiness, and he says you do this, this, and this. But